welcome in. Pull up a stool and join us as we are now in year number 9 here of the Sports Bar. Welcome to Rochester's #1 local sports talk show. Don't let anybody tell you any differently. July 2025 Nielsen ratings. Yes, this is the Fan Rochester. We live in a world of alternative facts, but Mike Danger's not here today. It's Gene Battaglia with you. Max is here. Buddy, you can open up the mic.
Hello.
Yeah, you helping us out during camp, and we got you back in today. So your head might be spinning with everything. Danger does a lot of wizardry on the boards, hitting buttons and everything, but it's good to have you on today, my friend.
Thank you. It's good to be on.
And Max here today. He'll be screening your calls. Our number 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Another show of excellence lined up for you here today. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, the Shout podcast. Oh, yeah, that game Sunday night. We're still talking about this, right? If you didn't see somebody on Monday, hadn't had any interaction, that's one of those you're still talking about this today. There's a lot of meat left on the bone discussing this game. I want to talk about this game. You want to turn the page of the Jets, so be it. I'm looking ahead. This will be a lot of fun. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, the Shout podcast, joining us at the bottom of this hour, 4:30 or so. Michael F. Florio from the NFL Network will be joining us because, hey, maybe you lost week 1. What are some waiver wire plays? Who are some guys that maybe surprised you? I don't think that anybody in their league should have. Abuka still available from Tampa, but he looks like he's the real deal. What about Keon Coleman? We joke here that, there's a Bills tax in Western New York. Maybe not. Maybe you're in a league that Keon Coleman is still out there, and if he does that on a regular basis, yeah, you're playing him regularly, are you not? Michael F. Florio is a proud card-carrying member of Bills Mafia as well. He is also the co-host of the Sick podcast from a Bills wide receiver, Stevie Johnson. Michael F. Florio joining us in the 4 o'clock hour. Your call's welcome. Again, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Here are all the platforms we're on, 95.7 FM, AM 950, WBEE HD2, streaming for free in the Odyssey app. We are on YouTube, and we are on Twitch. Now, if you're watching the YouTube or Twitch feed, Max is identified as Mike Danger. You lost some weight there, Mike. I don't know what, but it's okay. I got to figure out how to work the Chiron in there. So everybody, bear with us.
Hey, I'm Mike Danger at training camp. I'm Tommy Muley.
You're Tommy Muley. Yeah, you can be whoever we put you on.
Exactly.
About Sunday night. It still is special. And yesterday, while we're doing the show here, on the monitors, we had, that's really interesting. It's the lead story on PTI. And what they're discussing on PTI, pardon the interruption, does that game Sunday night say more about the Ravens or about the Buffalo Bills? And I don't think there's anything different with the Ravens. This is how they lose games. It is. And we can pull up all the stats. Heck, they lost a game like this sort of to the Bills, or the Bills were down 20-3. It was early on, and the Bills kick a field goal at the end. Tyler Bass, remember that was a few years ago in Baltimore? Very special win for Buffalo that day. And I just think that game Sunday night said way more about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. They're not used to winning games in this fashion. They're not used to coming back. You don't believe me? How about this tidbit from courtesy of the Associated Press? As I drop my readers here. Got to pick them up here, Max.
Uh-oh.
No, we're fine. Fine, I just can't read anything. The Associated Press, Josh Allen had been 0-16 when starting a drive, trailing by a score in the final 4 minutes of regulation. This includes the playoffs before the game-winning drive on Sunday. Only Brad Johnson had been worse since the year 2000. That is stunning to me. Like, we talk about fourth quarter comebacks, and they'll put up the grid, and yeah, the Bills have these fourth quarter comebacks, and You think of a game that pinballed back and forth last year with Detroit and things like that. But when it comes down to crunch time, last 4 minutes, Bills aren't very good. Who knew? And to win a game like that, 866-4FN. Here's where I come down to on the other issue with Allen playfully, sort of, just saying, have a little more faith, Bills fans. There were some 20,000 fans that were already gone. And in the course of the last day, I talked to a few people, good friends of the show. Saw them last night out at Trivia. Brittany and Ben, they're season ticket holders. Yeah, they left when it was 40 to 25. And, they've got to work early in the morning. You're driving back to Rochester. Here's the funny thing. And by funny, I mean, for everybody who left early, you know what I'm going to say here. Did it really save you time? Like, getting in and out of that stadium is terrible. It really is. There's no infrastructure. When they did it, it's like, really? There's no expressway that's readily available. You have to go down side roads and, okay, yeah, it works for us in the end, but it takes planning, right? Well, even with 20,000 people leaving at roughly the same time, 5 minutes to go, wherever it was in the fourth quarter, yeah, you're stuck in traffic. And for Brittany and Ben, they're listening to the call, on the Bills radio network. And they're actually behind somebody in the car that pulled the game up on the phone. And because it's just bumper to bumper, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go, I don't think that's very safe. I wouldn't recommend this, but they're watching through the glass to the car ahead of them while they're listening to the play-by-play and seeing what's going on. That's one way to do it. I don't fault anybody who left early, by the way. It's tough. I'm looking at this through the Rochester lens. Now, I'm a little different. I got home at 3, and I was dragging yesterday, and hopefully that didn't come across on the show yesterday. Max, I'm getting old, man. It's, like sometimes, oh, no big deal. It used to be like 5 hours, I'm good. Now, no. If it's anything less than 5, I feel it. And for anybody that can do that, I got 4 hours, 5 hours. Some people say 3 and I'm good. I'd like to know how that side of the world lives. I digress. Like, if you're driving back from Rochester, this is the byproduct of night games. And maybe if you're lucky enough, like next time, plan a vacation day or something like that. I'm going to be curious too. Meaning, next Sunday night home game, we don't have to wait a whole year. We got the Patriots coming up. First Sunday night in October. It's the 6th? Whatever the date is. Yeah, Stephon Diggs, divisional game. Should be close. What if it isn't? What if the Bills just decide to whomp on the Patriots? Now you're going to feel guilty, right? It's one thing like, all right, do we need to stay for the song? Or do we what's the song I'm thinking of, Max? They help me out.
Mr. Brightside, the Killers.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
See, I did get 5 hours last night, and I'm still sometimes forget these things. I knew that. It just didn't come to me. I'm not going to stay for the Mr. Brightside song. I'm going to kind of take off right here. No, now you're going to feel, if the Bills are up by 28 points against the Patriots, you're going to feel obligated by your quarterback to stay for the rest of the party. And maybe for some people, by the experience of that game, maybe perhaps you're going to actually realize I'm not really saving all this much time. Also have a friend. If you know Norm Kiefer from Fisher, Norm and his wife Becky, they go to games, and they will leave at the beginning of the fourth quarter, which to me doesn't sound like something I would want to do in this day and age. Spend all that money. I would want to at least watch it to the end. But hey, you lead busy lives, and you're buying the ticket. You can see, what you want to do, see fit with the ticket. Again, Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, coming up at the bottom of the hour. Our phone number is 866-4FAN. So you are way too young to remember the show Max Frazier. correct? Yes or
Yeah.
no? Oh, geez.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
See, part of me was hoping would say, "What are you talking about? I know Frazier." All right, so
I know some snippets,
All right,
like videos online.
All right, so for any Gen Zers, maybe even millennials out there, Frasier was a spinoff of Cheers. Kelsey Grammer played this character throughout, the bulk of the Cheers years, and then they kept it going. And then how long was Frasier on for? 8 years, or whatever. And of course, just a natural career change. He decides to go to Seattle, go from Boston to Seattle, and become a talk show host. Like, it's so simple. Like, okay. And he became this, like, Dr. Phil on the radio before there was Dr. Phil. That was the whole premise. The producer's name was Roz, and basically Frasier behind the glass. And Roz, tell us who's next. So you're playing the role of Roz today. All right?
Okay.
So instead of Roz, it's Max. Ladies and gentlemen, Max, who do we got on the line?
We have Linda from Webster.
Linda, I missed you Thursday. How are you, Linda? You have to hit the board.
Well, too. Yes, I missed you too. I'm so happy that you came to the Bill Gray's in Webster. It's practically in my backyard, and I would have come, except I had nasty COVID, and I didn't want to share that with anybody. So
good call.
Nah. So I am one of those wimpy fans that Josh Allen called out. I was home watching. Yes, I'm a wimpy fan. It was 9 minutes left. It was 40-25, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm glad we play New England, Miami, and the Jets twice, so at least we get 6 wins. This is what's going through my mind because they were just not getting it together. And I thought, I'm going to bed. And then my little Bills app is going off in the morning and singing, and I'm thinking, what? So, yeah, I'm one of those wimpy fans. But you just cited some research saying that when Josh Allen was behind, 0-16 or something?
0-16, the final 4 minutes. He like they say fourth quarter, but that's when they say the fourth quarter comeback. That's when I'm thinking like a fourth quarter comeback. We're down by a score. We need to pull this out late. Not 15 minutes to go, Linda. That stat was actually stunning to me. Stunning.
It was, and I don't think Josh knew that bit of evidence, and that's why people laughed.
Yeah.
It's just, we didn't maybe even know that either, but somehow in our Buffalo Bills guts, we know, because we have been down this road of disappointment before, that, but hey, we got Josh, MVP, yes, and so from now on, yes, Josh, I'm raising my hand, I'm saying an oath, I will watch to the very end. I will stay up.
Well, I think, Linda, I'm going to let you off the hook because when you said that, I'm thinking, oh, gosh, you went to the game. Now, if you're home and you fall asleep on the couch or whatever because the Bills are so bad, I'm not penalizing you, Linda, for that, for falling asleep.
That's good.
No, I'm not following you. But if you paid good money, and Linda, hopefully we'll be in Webster again. Appreciate Linda.
Yes, please. Yes. And go Bills.
Go Bills. Thank you for the call, Linda.
Yep.
Linda from Webster, everybody. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Yeah, like, were you thinking the Bills were going to be, oh, my gosh, we did this show. We do this every year. Take your bold predictions. And the first bold prediction we had was that the Bills would win less than 6 games. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is a troll take. And it was a little bit of a miscommunication because, like, we laid out for the caller, I think his name was Brian. We laid out for Brian, like, hey, you got to back this up. You just can't, like, call us. Like, and it was like a phone issue, and he didn't get it off in time, and we thought he hung up. He didn't. Maybe it was nerves or whatever, but then he called me off air, and he gave me the reasons. And it's the NFL. Like, nothing should surprise us. On the other hand, like, look, we're never rooting for injury. We're not factoring anything like that in. You can't factor anything like that in. Now, with that being said, the way the defense played there, we'll talk to Matt Perino about this because the Jets looked competent. Not a playoff team. Not somebody that the Bills should be overly worried about. You're not turning this game on with a pit in your stomach. The Ravens game should have put a pit in your stomach. The Chiefs, regardless of whatever the record is, when they come around in November, they're going to put a pit in your stomach. The Jets, Sunday 1. Hopefully the sun's out. If you're watching at home, maybe you're watching on your deck. Maybe you're going to go to a place like the tap room at Bill Gray's in Webster. Yeah, that is a game that I think Bills fans will be fine with, because if Aaron Rodgers could throw 4 touchdown passes against the Jets secondary with Sauce Gardner, what the heck do you think Josh Allen's going to do? I look at this line and I say 7? That's it? We'll talk to PJ Glasser tomorrow. And I'm just thinking that just seems too good to be true. But then we look at the history of Bills-Jets, and you go back to last year and like, oof. Yeah, that was Aaron Rodgers then in prime time, and it wasn't comfortable. It ended up being a 1-score game. Go back to 2 years ago, Aaron Rodgers played 1 play, right? That was it, and lost to Zach Wilson? Come on. And then there was another time a couple years prior, Wilson's rookie year. Bills lost on a beautiful day. And Josh Allen heaving the ball deep downfield, incomplete. So there's a history of the Bills stubbing their toe against the Jets. But hard for me to imagine this team isn't going to be dialed in. For one reason, watch the tape from the defense. It was kind of crappy, was it not? Yes, Ed Oliver made a great play. Yes, there were some other plays too. You gave up 40 points. So you won the game, but everybody should be thinking, boy, we got to be doing more. We just can't be like, Josh, let's go pull this out. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. There's another Bills story today. When I saw this, I'm like, oh, no. Let's talk this through. Because is this something to be concerned about in the short term? No. Is it something that we should keep in the back of our minds? Always. So there was some video and a live stream and the official announcement that the Buffalo Bills have partnered with Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment and other entities in Canada to bring the sport of football to Canada, talking about youth football initiatives, talking at, well, it used to be on the grounds of Exhibition Stadium. I don't even know what they call it now, where they put the soccer stadium, right? Where the Argos play now, right? It's right off the drag there as you're heading on in Canada, in Toronto. There's the Bills giving a press conference, and there's Josie Altidore, and there's other Canadian dignitaries talking about how great this is. And, all right, what is this really about? And it's Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, and they're talking about selling specific merchandise. They're talking about growing the game of football. This is all stuff that, the NFL front office would love, okay? Translation, what's the motivation here? Well, the motivation for Pete Goelli is to get a big fish, right? He's got a stadium. He can sell more up there. And when the Bills kind of left that series, I don't know if they abandoned that area altogether, but now this is kind of putting a stamp that, all right, we want to kind of make this a secondary thing. One thing I'm going to rule out altogether is this. Does this mean that the Bills in Toronto series is going to be coming back? Absolutely not. Where would they play? Where would the Bills play up in Toronto if you were going to move one game? Skydome is reconfigured now. Ha-ha. Yes, they did this whole reconfiguration with the base. I don't think you can put a football field in there anymore. Yay. And they're not going to play at the Argos Stadium. Hard for me to imagine that. I think we're kind of done with that, are we not? Oh, no. This just might be my paranoid mind thinking, but when we go back to August and our conversation with Pete Goelli and how the Bills were negotiating with Fisher, not for a one-year deal, but for something longer term, until we get that word, I would just think that there would be other entities that would love to bring in a tourist event like Buffalo Bills training camp. What would that do for their economy up north? this is what I would ask everybody up in from the Canadian side. What's their agenda? What's the agenda for you? Growing the game of football? You're taking time out of your busy day to host youth camps at this. What is your agenda if you're Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment? The Bills aren't going to go anywhere. Again, I'm not reporting this. I'm just pointing this out. Until somebody answers that question, what's the agenda? Sell some merch? Who cares? People up there love the Maple Leafs. Or this could be just the NFL saying, hey, we're doing this all over the globe. You're the closest team up in Toronto. Do something. And maybe that's all this is, Max. Maybe it's just Josie out the door walking in to some client. Oh, great. I love you. Great. Hand me over the check, and a sponsorship deal is done. So welcome your calls. Welcome your takes. If you want to write to us, our handle on Twitter, The Fan Rochester. I can't look at my cell phone. I can't look at the monitor. So I will look at your tweets and texts and everything else as we go to break. We've got a sports update. Oh, by the way, yes, 4 o'clock hour. We survived week 1. Chances are you did too. There weren't any upsets. But now week 2 gets dicey. Really, really dicey. Now we have injuries for the 49ers. You wouldn't think about taking them against the Saints. But the Ravens, let's pick. After what happened last year in week 2 against the Raiders, you're going to risk that again? Yes, we will have our week 2 survive in advance pick. I will give you my winner. You can take my advice or leave it. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, next. This is the Fan Rochester. Bills announcing a marketing partnership today with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment up in Toronto. Bills a 7-point favorite for their next game against the Jets. Head coach Sean McDermott on Josh Allen being in the clutch.
He has been wired since he came here to want the ball in those situations. He's extremely calm and composed in those situations, and he's an extreme competitor. Like, if there was extreme games, there are extreme games, but I'm saying, like, he would be a contestant because he loves to compete.
Our coverage Sunday will begin at 9 a.m. We'll talk to our buddy Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard of the Shout podcast, coming up next year in the Sports Bar. Red Wings tonight hosting Buffalo. The Yankees hosting the Tigers, Mets, and Philly. Syracuse basketball schedule is now out. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester. One thing we'll talk about with Matt Perino here coming up in just a little bit is, all right, if this continues on the course, I would fully expect, and maybe I'm off on this, that Sean McDermott's going to give Cole Bishop, Taylor Rapp, another shot here. That was a bad night, and I don't think you're going to make any drastic player personnel moves. However, if things don't change over the next few weeks here, what course do the Buffalo Bills do? One thing that's crossed off the board, and this was more or less just kind of a hope here just for Bills fans. Nothing concrete reported that Jabril Peppers might be coming. Like, this was Lawyer Malloy 2.0. Like, hey, this safety was released by the Patriots. He's really good. I've heard of him. Let's bring him in. That's not going to happen. Apparently, he's agreed to terms with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that is going to be helping the Steelers out here for a little bit. And as far as the Bills, I mean, my prediction actually is that Jordan Poyer at some point will be getting it. Max, are we having an issue, or what do we got there, buddy? He did not answer. All right, let's take a break. This is on me. Totally me. I apologize for this. Little quick break. We'll get Matt Perino on here. Apologize, everybody. Danger's out today. Things are falling apart. It's a Fan, Rochester. There we go. See, Matt, like, I'm running the board today. Danger's not here. I'm not, everything's just hot beat. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, Shout podcast. I don't even have the excuse, Matt, that, hey, I was up really, really late last night. What time did you get to bed Monday morning there?
Probably about like 5:15 a.m.
How many hours of sleep do you need to be functional, Matt?
I mean, I'm actually bad. Like, my wife gives me a hard time about it. I need like 8. So I got about 3 that day, and it was tough sledding. And now I still don't feel like I'm totally back yet. So that's the night game life.
Yeah, it's a night game life. I mean, there was one thing the Bills were trying to sell us a couple of years ago on the London trip that, if you bank sleep, it's going to be fine. Matt, maybe professional athletes. I don't know if, like, I slept all day Saturday, that would make any difference there, bud.
No, I don't think it'll make any difference.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard and the Shout podcast, joining us. Matt, as far as, what you saw Sunday night, and you've had some time to kind of take it all in, what are your biggest takeaways from a night that we will not forget anytime soon?
I think, and I've said it multiple times since, doing a bunch of shows and, sitting there and reflecting on it, it really was this great painting of the thing that we talked about the most over the last 9 months since the season ended, and that is, who is the best quarterback in the league? It was between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen last year for MVP, and my argument for Josh kind of played out in that game, right? Like, you had this destructive force that the Bills just couldn't stop in Derrick Henry, and Lamar Jackson in his own right was really spectacular. But I think having that presence in that offense makes it so hard to handle. And you look on the other side, and Josh Allen on his own throwing for 400 yards, and of course it's not on his own. Dalton Kincaid had a nice day. Josh Palmer. It was the coming out party of Keon Coleman. But nobody's talking about those guys as superstars, as next future Hall of Famers, the way that we talk about Derrick Henry. And I think that was such a fitting way for the Bills to win that game against that team was to have Josh Allen play the way that he did. And even in the game, I don't even know if I necessarily realized how spectacular he was. It's one thing to throw for 400 yards and have 4 total touchdowns. It's a whole other thing to do that while making no mistakes. And that to me is the other part of this thing, is that no matter how hard the Ravens try, they played a clean game through 3.5 quarters, and then Ed Oliver comes back there, and that's the other thing we should talk about.
Yeah.
Comes back there and causes the fumble, and then it completely changed the complexion of the game. So it's quite a debut for the Bills in 2025 to close down Highmark Stadium in the last ever opener, but a lot of work still to do.
Yeah, and yeah, let's keep with the positive because before we get to some other things that I'm sure they're going to be addressing here in practice, which resumes tomorrow here. That was the hope, right, when the Bills drafted Ed Oliver. I mean, can we get more of that? Because I look at playoff games, Matt, and just to get that one big play. I mean, I can't imagine a bigger play in the career. That has to be it here so far from Ed Oliver.
Oh, for sure, and. He's had games like this before. Like, I think it's very, very much recency bias to say, Ed Oliver's never. I mean, I remember when he had 2 sacks on Thanksgiving against the Dallas Cowboys early on, and that's been the big thing. It's like you get these 1-game sample sizes from him, and it gets you all excited about what he can be, and then it just go a game or two, and I think part of it is like I think he's way more consistent than even I give him credit for. And I take a play in that game that nobody was really talking about. It was the 3rd and 9 late in the game when Lamar Jackson found DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Benford made the stop, and it brought up 4th and 3, and they decided to punt. Lamar came out after the fact and said he was cramping, right? Go back and watch the replay of that play.
Okay.
Ed Oliver destroyed Lamar Jackson, like absolutely destroyed him. I don't even know if he knew where he was after that hit. And that, to me, those are plays. I remember hearing a quarterback talk about this years ago. I can't remember if it was Aaron Rodgers or something. He's like, the worst moments in games are when you take a big hit like that, and it's almost like you're not right again for 2 or 3 plays later. Ed Oliver does that a lot more than he's given credit for. He's such a force. He was so good against the run. Like, that's another thing that was lost because there were so many other guys that weren't very good against the run. And so I think a lot of times he plays better than even we realize in the moment, but you're not seeing the explosive plays. You're not seeing the gaudy stat line. But inside the building, when it comes to like trusting Ed Oliver in a big game, I think there's a lot of trust for him. And I think it's been more about the lackluster play around him for the majority of his career. And this might even sound like revisionist history because I've been critical of Ed at times. But I just, you go back and watch that game, it's not even the splash plays as much as the consistently being a problem for the interior of that offensive line.
Yeah, so, Matt, one storyline to come out of this game, too, to be able to pick up a veteran like Matt Prater, 41-year-old Matt Prater, was just kind of sitting out there looking for work. And again, this is a question that, all right, nobody's going to address. I mean, you're just kind of table it. Tyler Bass isn't available here for the first quarter of the season, but if and when, could you envision here Matt Prater? I thought he said all the right things when you're watching that video and they're giving him the game ball and everyone's very excited. And he said, hey, as long as you'll have me here. So where do you see this going from here? Could you see Matt Prater sticking around for a while?
Yeah, I think that there's a world that, first of all, you don't have to rush Tyler Bass back. That's first and foremost. And this is something that he's been dealing with all of the summer. And then you get to the first time he gets the kick against the Bucs and it flares right back up. So this might be something that he needs a couple months for. And so I think that you have Prater in that situation. And then, he's at 41 years old, and I don't know, he was hanging around available before this. He was coaching his kids' football team. I think it's one of those situations where you work Bass back, get him to a place where you're happy with it, and then you put Prater back on the practice squad, and he's available if you need him, depending on how things transpire with Bass. We don't know what's going on, the severity of this injury. The Bills using injured reserve was something that I think perked a lot of people's eyebrows up. Like, this might be a lot more serious than anybody thinks. So it's going to be a wait and see approach. But in the meantime, there's no rush. Great debut for Prater. The one thing I want to ask Sean about that didn't pop up yesterday was he said after the game that in the last drive they were trying to get to the 40 in range of about 45 yards. Like, is that what they feel Prater's max is? Is that something that will improve as he kind of integrates with the team and they learn more about him? Because if his max is 45, I don't think that's going to be able. I mean, you saw Bosworth for Pittsburgh hit a 60-yarder. You're going to need somebody that can kind of boom one at some point. So I think the kicker situation is something to monitor, but I don't see them moving off of Bass unless it's like something season ending where they shut him down on IR, and then that just they give the job to Prater or maybe even somebody else. They worked out 3 kickers. I know it's a great story right now, but life in the NFL for a kicker is tough. I mean, you could be the hero one day and the GOAT the next week. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, fluid, as they say. Matt Perino is our guest, giving us some time here on a Tuesday. Matt, as far as the secondary, to me it was, hey, these were our worst fears on display when we saw in training camp, and all the talk about Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp didn't have a good game. But honestly, there was other positions. I mean, you allowed 40 here. So where do you think the Bills go from here? One option today, and this wasn't even a Bills option. This is more like a fan media. Hey, Peppers is out there. Why don't we go get him? Apparently he's going to Pittsburgh. But that being said, Matt, how long is the leash here for Bishop and, for that matter, Taylor Rapp?
It's pretty long. I especially with this next string of games, you're not going to face anything like that offense. I mean, Atlanta looked at times pretty good, and I think, if Penix gets things going and cooking over the next couple of weeks, that could be interesting. But, I mean, Miami's offense looks just brutal. The Jets, I like some things about the Jets. Specifically, Armand Membu was the guy, to me, that was the biggest story coming out of that game. He was electric in all of his one-on-ones against T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith. The other side, you can exploit a little bit more with Fashanu. But I think that line in general might be the best offensive line in the division outside of the Bills. And that's something that some of these teams, year after year, you've been building this all-star team on the perimeter in Miami and in the backfield with Achane and with Mostert before that. But you never really figured out the offensive line, and you have to do that to be effective. We've seen the way that Josh Allen in this offense has taken off since their offensive line got figured out. But yeah, I don't see them moving off of the safeties. I think this is the time to let Cole Bishop play with Rapp, see if they can't build some continuity. I mean, I don't think that that's going to be a real talking point until we get a bigger sample size to figure out if this isn't something. Because they come out this week and have a completely better game. I mean, it's a different conversation, different trajectory. And I expect Rapp to be better than he was. I mean, he missed a big chunk with the hamstring. Who knows? Maybe he's not even 100% yet on that thing. I know he wasn't on the injury report, but those soft tissue injuries tend to linger. So I'm going to give him a little bit more time. At times last year, I thought he played really well. They don't have a lot of options. The other problem, too, is, you're in the season now, dude. They're not going to be able – even a vet. And I know Jabril Peppers said, I've been in so many systems, it doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter to the Bills. Getting somebody in here, teaching them the scheme, and having them be able to get up to speed fast enough. They did it with Rasul Douglas a couple of years ago, but he even said, I think he did in a Ty Dunn story after the season, I didn't know the system. I was just basically going out there and playing football and reacting. And at safety, they asked them to do so much from a communication perspective. I don't know if there's that option right now. Now they might get to a point where they have to think about it and go out and try to get somebody. But at this point, after one game, I don't think that you're overreacting.
Well, there is one guy on the practice squad in particular, and if Danger were here, he'd be like, no, I'm not going to entertain him. Like, I don't know. Like, Jordan Poyer, how long do you think he'll actually need here? Because to me, like, all right, you actually might need to get into football shape, for that matter, Jordan Phillips and for Gabe Davis. Like, there are timelines for these guys in the practice squad that I'm asking you the question. It's kind of hard to kind of put a finger on it, but you think at some point we'll see Jordan Poyer this year, Matt?
Okay, so this is layered. First of all, yes, but I don't think in the role that a lot of people would expect. What I think Hoyer is tailor-made for at this point is the box safety dime package role, where you're only asking him to play 5 to 12 snaps per game. Cam Lewis is doing it now, and to me, that's the guy that if you do make a change or if there is an injury at safety, I'd like to see them put Cam Lewis back there and let like a Jordan Poyer come up and play that dime role. I don't know if we'll get to a spot where you're asking Jordan Poyer to play 100% of the snaps again. Maybe that could be in the cards if he gets in football shape. But with his injury history the last couple of years, I'd be very hesitant to pull the trigger on that too early in the season. Because if you think that you need him for like a playoff run or something like that, I'd probably try to keep him as healthy as possible for the majority of the season, and then just see where you're at as you get to November and December. But I think that they'd probably go Hamlin, I guess, before they'd even probably consider Lewis. Or, maybe if things aren't going well, they do turn things over to Jordan Hancock and let them see what it looks like with him back there. I thought he had some momentum there before the shoulder injury, and he'll probably need a little time to get that to 100%. But I think that those are some of the – I think we'd see Jordan Hancock 100% of the snaps before we see Jordan Poyer.
Interesting. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, good explanation there, giving us a few minutes here. Just a few more here for you, Matt. It's the Jets, and we think, oh, this is a team the Bills should whomp on. And then you realize, wait a second, that game last year on Monday Night Football was actually pretty close. And, hey, you go back a couple years, this Bills team actually lost to the Jets on opening night. So it's the NFL. Anything can happen. Kind of what's your early outlook for this matchup Sunday on the road, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, not at all do I think that this is going to be a easy game for the Bills on the road. I think right now the Jets have a lot of momentum. I mentioned what I saw from Membu. I also thought on the other side of the ball, Will McDonald is developing into a really good pass rusher on the outside, and then you have arguably the best defensive tackle in the game in Quinnen Williams in the middle. Maybe the best corner in the game in Sauce Gardner on the outside. So Keon Coleman makes all this noise week one, and now it's like, all right, for at least part of this game, if not all of it, say hello to Sauce Gardner. And that's a tough matchup. Now, I would like to see Keon versus Sauce in some like physical type of battles down the field, second and third level, see how that plays out. But, I think the thing for the Jets is they're going to want to run the ball. I think Justin Fields is limited. Like, he's not going to be able to put the pressure on the Bills secondary like Lamar Jackson did last week. Now, but I should say Garrett Wilson is just as effective and scary as a Zay Flowers. And Zay Flowers had himself a really good game last week. So I think it comes down to taking advantage of the dangerous throws that Fields makes at times, trying to mitigate what they're trying to do on the ground with Breece Hall and that three-headed monster back there. Braylon Allen he's really good too. And then they got a third back there. His name's escaping me. And then defensively, like taking care of the ball. Like this is a team that is going to try to get after Josh Allen somehow. They'll probably have some different looks. It's interesting though. I had Antoine Staley. I think you guys have had him on the show before from New York Daily News. Great dude. Covers the Jets for a bunch of years. Covered the Dolphins before that. We talked today, and the defense that the Jets are running this year is a bit of a departure. Like the Robert Saleh era of defense was very much man-heavy, press man, in your face, great defensive line, rotational defensive line. Steve Wilkes is from the Sean McDermott coaching tree, if you will. Not coaching tree, but they coach together in Carolina. And he's much more like zone heavy. Aaron Glenn played a lot of man in Detroit, and so they're merging a defensive philosophies right now, and that'll be interesting to see how that meshes against this Bills offense. I mean, I don't even think the Steelers offense is going to be as good as they looked last week, and it felt like they got to Aaron Rodgers a couple times, but at other times he was able to kind of sit back and survey and really attack at the second and third level. I thought the tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Freiermuth, had a really good game, which I think the Bills are just starting to scratch the surface of what this 13 personnel package could look like. I think Jackson Hawes is going to be much more important to the 2025 Bills offense than anybody even projected in the summer. So it's going to be fun. These games are always close. I'm not expecting a big Bills on the road thrashing, but I do think they should win the game.
Matt, always appreciate your time. Are you going to at least get a few minutes in the city here, or are you just going to, is it a quick down and back for you this week?
So actually, I'm going to drive down with my wife on Sunday. The boys got a baseball game at 8 a.m., so I'm going to go coach that to the best of my abilities. Try to get a little dub on a Saturday morning, and then we're going to hit the road right from there. Head right to the city, spend the late afternoon and evening, have some dinner, and then she's going to drive back, and I'll fly back Monday. But yeah, we're going to do a little city life Saturday night. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the High Line's overrated. I wouldn't do that. So that would be.
We've done that. It's a nice walk.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a destination. It's not something I'd. If it's convenient, if maybe I'm going to Chelsea Market and we want to just walk that for a little while, we would do it. But yeah, it's not going to be in the plans for this one.
Matt, be well. Really appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, buddy. Have a great week.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post Standard podcast. Boy, hung him right up there, man. We'll take a quick break. We have our Survive in Advance coming up. That'll be in the 4 o'clock hour today. My name is Gene Battaglia. Also, Michael F. Florio from the NFL Network will be joining us later here on The Fan Rochester. Nicola Florio from the NFL Network will be joining us next hour. Welcome back. Gene Battaglia with you today. Mike Danger, as he says he's on assignment, he's actually going to New Orleans. He already might be in New Orleans. I have no problem telling you where he's going to be. We have a lot of assignments for our company. That's one of his assignments. Go manage the stations down there. This is interesting. Bill just made a personnel move. So, of the reasons the game was closer than you would have liked if you're a Bills fan. Okay, let's list them off. Secondary, bad tackling. Yeah, inability to stop Lamar. Like, all those things. I would go way, way down to find punter. But the Bills just cut Brad Robbins. Robbins is out. And in is former Eagles, former Texans, and former Steelers punter Cameron Johnson. 33. He's an Aussie. Yes. Men at work. Foster's beer. All that stuff. Yeah, Cameron Johnson signed. He had an injury that ended his season last year, and I don't know if he wasn't healthy, but he lost his job this year. So he was sitting out there. It's always kind of interesting when you're bringing, because the punter is also the holder. So now you have a whole new battery there, to use the baseball term. You've got Matt Prater as your place kicker, Cameron Johnson as your punter. Who saw this coming? Not me. Cameron Johnson also from the Ohio State. So the Bills spending some money at the punting position. How many punts did Robbins have on the other night? He had 4. 39.5 average. He shanked one of them really badly. I didn't think that would be like enough to get him to cost his job, but look, it's a punter. You're a punter in the NFL. If you can do better, fine. I said this when people got all upset about the Bills and how they handled the Matt Araiza situation. If you're relying on your punter, then something really has gone wrong. You want an offense that's going to get the job the majority of times. We don't like to play field position games. So Bills with a new punter. Survive and advance coming up next. Our phone number 866-4FAN, 866-4326. My name is Gene Battaglia here on The Fan, Rochester.